Oh, yes.
Welcome back, everyone. Today we're taking a look at the new MOTU Origins Mer-Man. You might be saying, wait, we've already done that one. Well, yes and no. This Mer-Man is a modified version of the regular toy, given new parts and new colors to resemble the prototype Mer-Man toy from the Lords of Power concept. And you can see that logo here, the LOP, Lords of Power, that would eventually evolve to become Masters of the Universe. So he's one of several prototype toys that were seen in shots, and some of those are being remade now. In fact, they all did get remade in the 2020 PowerCon exclusive, and I guess they're releasing like general retail versions now, kind of like they did with She-Ra, right? They had the real hair version that was released at PowerCon, and then you could get more of a just general plastic version at retail. So he follows that suit, where he's slightly differently colored than the actual exclusive one, but for those that, couldn't or didn't attend PowerCon like myself, you can now buy them for, about 15 bucks. So if you see my reviews before, you know how this goes. We're going to take a look at Mer-Man's packaging, then we'll put it up, get a quick glance at his comic, and then we'll see Mer-Man himself, check out his accessories, his posability, all that fun stuff. Naturally, I'll be doing some group shots and comparisons today, and then at the end of the video, I'll give my final thoughts. So Mer-Man comes in your standard size MOTU Origins packaging. You get his name right here, Mer-Man. His title is Ocean Warlord. Very simple, but very accurate. And then, again, you get that LOP, or Lords of Power callback, which I think is just really cool and something I didn't even know existed until, delving into this. And then you can see his comic a bit in the background. You see his accessory there, taped behind him. And then on the back of the packaging, we get the ever-present artwork that looks very cool. And one thing you'll notice, you'll see Teela writing in on her little battle charger, her unicorn, that exists only in artwork form because they never actually made a toy of that. And you'll also notice that she's blonde here because in original concepts, Teela was blonde. It wasn't until her toy was actually released and the He-Man cartoon aired that they decided to change her hair to red. So our flavor text for this guy says, as ruler of Rakash, Mer-Man orders the monsters of the deep at the behest of the evil Skeletor. And you can see this abomination, I don't know, rat kraken thing going on in the background there. Then, of course, we get our action callouts. Shows you how to fit the Sword of Rakash in his hand, so that's the name of his sword. And then the whole twist into powerful battle positions, yeah. And then we get our cross-sells. You get a just kind of redo of He-Man and Skeletor, the ever-present figures that are clogging shelves everywhere. You get Faker, who I reviewed previously. Fisto, another character that was needing an update. Of course, Mer-Man himself. And then down here, you get a recolor of Evil Lynn done up in her 2002 cartoon colors. So that's neat for anyone that doesn't like the regular colors, right? The weird yellow skin can be a bit off-putting, I guess. And, especially to fans of the 2002 Masters of the Universe cartoon, of which there are many, because it's a very much beloved show. So you can get something that fits the aesthetic of this toy line, but, is a callback to arguably the best He-Man show that's been put out there. Here's a quick look at our Wave 5 mini comics, Sucker Punch. And you've probably seen this a few times already. It just shows a little ambush that Faker lays out for Fisto in disguise as He-Man. And then Fisto eventually figures it out, takes out Faker. And then Mer-Man gets to appear for all of one panel. And what's interesting is that he just rocks his classic design, like his regular MOTU design, instead of the new Lords of Power one. So, I guess it makes sense for continuity, but doesn't really showcase the toy very well. They do the same thing with Evil Lynn here. She's just in her regular colors instead of her 2002 colors. So, I don't know. These two are barely even in the comic, so they kind of get the short end of the stick there. And then, as always, we have our cross-sells on the back. Now we get a good look at Mer-Man himself, and he's got a lot of new tooling on him, which makes him very interesting. So, as far as, what's recycled, you have your regular He-Man chest and upper arms, as well as the legs, until you reach the boots right there. And then and then the hands are also He-Man toys. And then we do also get the regular Skeletor feet down here. And then that's it for the, reused tooling. His little Speedo thing, it's not the usual, furry loincloth looking thing. it looks like it's made out of, maybe more like a whale hide, like something smooth, which is much more fitting for a character that lives primarily under the water. He also gets this new tasseled belt that goes around it, which is neat, as well as all new chest armor that is similar in appearance to the standard Mer-Man's, but much more intricate. He's got this really nice brooch thing in the middle. He's got these spikes coming off of the chest guard. He's got these additional spikes going around his neck right here. It's just a much more fleshed out version of the standard release, and I like it a lot more. His forearms are also all new, and they include the little fins on them, as well as the boot area. So from the ankle up, this is all new, and it has what appears to be like frog feet on him. It's kind of cool. It's got the same sword as the regular Mer-Man, and then of course he's got a new head too. Now the head, I like it, but I don't like it. I like it for how unique it is, because it's not reused anywhere else. The regular Mer-Man uses the same exact head as Stinkor, so that makes it a little less impressive. But at the same time, this head is really goofy looking. He doesn't look intimidating, he looks like a big doofus. Now I believe the original intent for Mer-Man was to actually make him a heroic character, in which case having his prototype look a little less aggressive may have made a lot more sense. And perhaps that's why they changed the head sculpt, is because we want to be a bad guy now, so we want him to be a little more menacing than, wide eyes McBuckteeth here. So, I don't know, it's not a bad head sculpt, but he doesn't look particularly evil. He kind of reminds me of Jar Jar Binks. So, I don't know. But I do like the toy. I do very much like it. It's got really great tolerances, the head works really well, the arms, all that. Hips, the waist, everything's very solid on this guy, which is more than I could say for my regular Mer-Man, who's pretty floppy. I don't know why. I think he was one of the imports I got, so he was just kind of banged up in transit. But I do like this guy. I would have preferred a cooler looking head, but at the same time, then it wouldn't have been authentic to the Lords of Power prototype, so I think the best thing for me to do is really just appreciate the toy for what it is. Now, of course, we have to get a group shot with the standard release Mer-Man from Wave 3, I believe it was. And you can see he's a bit more bare bones in this new release. He's just got the Skeletor body, from the neck down, just all Skeletor. He gets a simple, chest piece that goes over him, and he does get the sword, which is the same piece as this one, just cast in lighter plastic. Then he gets his head, which I can't really say it's a reuse, because Mer-Man came before Stinkor, so really, if anything, Stinkor reuses Mer-Man's head. So I can't really hold it against this toy since it did it first. But I will say it's far less interesting looking. The entire body outside of the loincloth area is just done up in the same, green plastic with no paint. So it means he's got no gloves on. His boots, if they're supposed to be boots, are, just the same flesh tone as his legs and everything. I don't know if the intention was to say, these are his actual feet and that's what they look like, or if they just gave him boots that were the same color as his body. I'm not really sure. But I find him much less interesting to look at. This guy right here, he looks like a proper ruler of the seas. This one almost looks more like a minion than anything. Now, it's a shame that their skin colors don't match, because if they did, you could swap the heads on these guys and, give this one the intimidating looking head with all the cool armor and all that stuff. But unfortunately, the greens are pretty different. This is a much darker, more bluish shade of green than the old one. I mean, if that, color difference doesn't bother you, you can still go ahead and do it, but, it's probably going to look a little weird. So yeah, while the original Mer-Man is absolutely a classic, I mean, he's one of those must-haves if you're a MOTU collector, I think this is the better toy. I really do. He's far more interesting looking. Even if his face is kind of doofy, the rest of him is just so cool. He's so much more fleshed out. He's got all that unique tooling and everything with the fins that just really sell him more as an aquatic warlord than, Skeletor, Mick, different head. It's really a shame that this isn't, the design that they went with the original line. Maybe just swap the head out to this new one and kept the body the same with all the cool stuff. I'd imagine that was all cut for budget, right? A lot of the reason that Master of the Universe was so heavy on the part sharing was just budget. It was like Barbies, where you can just keep reproducing the same body types and slap different clothes on them. So I understand why it happened, but I do think it's a shame, because all these years, we could have had something that looked more like this, at least from the neck down, and that would have been really cool. And this completes our look at the new MOTU Origins Lords of Power Mer-Man. Not to be confused with PowerCon exclusive, which was just a recolor of this guy, or really this guy's a recolor of that. I do believe that this is the superior Mer-Man figure between, this and their standard retail release. It's got so much more value to it. It has much more fleshed out armor and a lot of unique tooling, which really drives the value up, because if you know anything about the toy industry, creating new tooling or a new mold for something is very costly to the company. So when they, take on that cost, but then don't, pass it off to you and they just keep the price the same, that's a good value for you. They're kind of losing to give you a good product, which is something that, companies, they can only do so much, right? Because they got shareholders and all that, and they got to maximize profits. So when you get something cool and unique like this, and it's not like some kind of crazy exclusive, just a standard retail release, that's really good. And I really think that, aside from maybe the cartoonish head, he is just better than the standard Mer-Man in every way. So I really like this guy. Now, at this point, he may be a little harder to find, right? Wave 5 is kind of come and gone. I have still seen it pop up in a few places, especially at like Myers and stuff, if you guys have Meyer around you. So if you can find him, I would definitely grab him. I think he is the better version. And if you don't already have a Mer-Man, I'd say this is an easy purchase. Like, he is just a lot cooler. So, yeah, it's as always, a little situational. If you do already have Mer-Man and you're on a tight budget, you don't need to get this guy. I mean, you have the classic one that everybody knows and loves. But if you don't have that, or you have the funds to spare, you're a completionist, or you just want, a cooler version or something, definitely pick this guy up. He is a very, very cool looking toy. And honestly, one of my favorites of the standard releases, just because of how ornate and just really awesome looking he is. Of course, that is just my take on this toy. So now I want to know what you all think of it. Do you like this Mer-Man? Do you think he's an improvement over the old one, or do you think he's a downgrade? Can you get past the cartoonish head to, enjoy like the rest of the toy? Or do you maybe even like the cartoonish head? Everybody's got their own preferences. Maybe you think this is the cooler one. Any and all feedback's always welcome in the comments section. If you enjoyed this review, make sure to toss it a like. Let YouTube know you want to see more stuff like this. If you do want to see more like this, make sure to subscribe and hit that notification bell so you always get a heads up when I post something new. I thank you for joining me for this look at Masters of the Universe Origins Wave 5 Lords of Power Mer-Man. With all that said, I will see you next time.